receptors in our body in every major organ. The majority of them are in our brains and the second most in our reproductive organs. What hemp flower extract does, or what we call CBD, which by the way is only one of the 100 cannabinoids, but we just
so there are different cannabinoids as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And what it does is it finds those receptors that are deficient, it fills them, and it puts the body in homeostasis or balance. And one by one, it's been shown that it can actually start removing those paper clips on the arms of the mobile to give that body the balance that it needs. And it's not a drug, it's not medicine. We can't claim to heal or cure anyone using this. But what I say it does is when your body's in balance, it's able to do what it was meant to do. Which is heal itself, and overcome things. And so that is what I have found working with my clients, my family, my friends, that it's been tremendous to see the results that we are getting from using this. I mean, from seizures, migraines, sleeplessness, anxiety, depression. I will be transparent. I was on antidepressants for 7 years, and I am off of them now. It's been a year and a half.
Congratulations.
And I find that many people can never really wean off because they don't have anything to support their body and keep it in balance. This is something that we all make, Schubert. We all make cannabinoids, but we are deficient because when it was removed 150 years ago, it grew wild like weed.
You mean hemp?
Hemp did, right. And it was in our vegetation, and it was also being consumed by all of the animals that we eat and consume, them or the byproducts. So we were getting those cannabinoids that we needed through our food sources to bridge the gap for what our body does not make enough of. And the only time now as mammals that we are getting the amount that we need is when we are being breastfed, because mother's milk produces cannabinoids to fill the receptors in that new baby or new animal. And it actually, the saliva can send a message to the mother to give certain cannabinoids to that child or animal to help them to, and that's why we say like a nursed baby is a calmer baby, has a boosted immune system, all the things. So what we're really doing is we're filling those receptors that are deficient.
Because there's a lot of time where doctors or parents, some parents who don't want to breastfeed, they would say, well, can you just do it for maybe for a couple of weeks because the some of those vitamin nutrients,
colostrum,
that they're gonna receive from the breast milk there's nowhere else they can get that. So you're telling me that CBD or the cannabinoids that are found in CBD is founded into the breast milk of a mother. Wow, that's amazing. Now, when you come to CBD, sometimes we hear people talk about different type of CBD. They would say CBD, and some other people would say CBG or CBM.
CBG is excellent. That's an anti-inflammatory. It has wonderful healing properties. It's a neuroprotector, and it also helps with gut health and nausea and bloating. And we actually have a collagen that has CBG in it. It's the only one in the world. And that has been such a great support for people that are looking for reduced inflammation, cognitive support, as well as gut health.
Nice. So basically, all those cannabinoids, if my understanding, they all work together, and they all somewhat solve a different problem in the human body. When it comes to specifically hormone and the central nervous system.
Yes, and we call that the entourage effect. So when you combine all the cannabinoids and they work synergistically to produce the entourage effect, which covers all the areas that need to be addressed. And like I said, we do make our own cannabinoids, and we can increase our production doing certain things like meditation, prayer, exercise, actually orgasm. There's a lot of things that we do as human beings or mammals that increase the production of our cannabinoids. So, you've heard the runner's high,
Right.
and you've heard of a lot of people like talking about endorphins and things like that. Those things like watching the sunrise, those things, deep breathing exercises, they really are helpful. The problem is that the gap is bigger than that.
Right.
So all we're doing is trying to bridge that gap
That's
using
awesome.
hemp products.
That's awesome. Now, let me ask you this. Now, some people, they would say every hemp product, gonna have some type of THC associated with it. So how somebody will know that what they're buying is strictly CBD? And also, do you recommend that, or do you recommend to your clients, do they buy a product that solely contain CBD or CBG, or do you recommend a combination between THC and CBD combined?
So what they call that a cocktail in the industry, where you would combine THC with hemp products, and that can only be done through doctors in the medical field or someone that is licensed to do that. I focus strictly on the hemp side of things, which is the superfood, which is the supplement.
Right.
There is trace amounts found in the hemp plant, 0.3 or less, which is a trace amount of THC. It is impossible to become intoxicated consuming a hemp product.
So if somebody's listening and they think that they're gonna get high, that's not gonna happen.
Then they're not taking CBD that they think they're taking, and that's why I go back to the Wild Wild West, because if you go into a CBD shop, a majority of the products have a synthetic version called like Delta 9,
right?
And that will produce a some sort of intoxicating
after
feeling.
Consuming, okay.
But it's very harmful for human health. In the natural form, if you're like smoking a joint or having like taking THC, like medical marijuana, that's different. But a synthetic form is actually can be quite dangerous.
Right. So that's good to know, because a lot of time some folks probably listening today and they're thinking about, okay, well, I need to use CBD because the application is so, it's very wide range of applications. Some of the things CBD can be used for. So they want to make sure that, if they take it, they're not going to get high. Now, let me ask you this. What about somebody going to get drug tested? Let's just say, for example, if somebody is a firefighter or a cop, they're listening, and they may say, hey, I have anxiety, I have stress because my job, created a lot of stress. Now, those people, they get drug tested on a regular basis. If somebody going to get drug tested and they've been taking CBD, will they fail the drug test?
So what we have is full spectrum, and we have broad spectrum. Full spectrum has the allowed amount, which is 0.3 or less trace amounts of THC. And because our drug testing is not what it should be to detect it, it's kind of like if you eat a poppy seed muffin, you can trip a drug test. They're now saying that even sometimes Tylenol can trip it, and it's just not an accurate test. So I always recommend for people being drug tested to only use broad spectrum. Broad spectrum hemp products extract that tiny trace amount of 0.3 or less from the product so that they would not trip any type of drug test. So I recommend broad spectrum for athletes that are being tested, for people that have employers that do random drug testing, nurses, a lot of nurses, anyone in the law enforcement, only broad spectrum CBD, or the topicals, because the topicals will not trip a drug test. CBG can trip a drug test, as well as CBN. So those are the things that I always tell people to stay away from. And I'm very careful when I'm advising people, because I would never want them to lose their job over something like that.
Right.
Because it is legal in every state, a lot of HR people will say, you're fine. You can show them what you're taking, and they'll be like, you're totally fine with this, and don't worry about it. But that depends on the company you're working for and if you want to be using a product that's the full entourage effect with that trace amount of THC.
Right.
I personally have found that the broad spectrum works like I can't really tell the difference. And everybody is bio-individual. Some people respond better
Right.
to one or the other, and there's both to choose from, which is great for me. I also recommend that pregnant, nursing mothers, small children, just use the broad spectrum. That just eliminates all of that stereotype of what people think kind of thing.
Right.
Even though it's not harmful, it just removes it.
Gotcha. Now, what are some of the different applications? Is it something is that a pill that you take every morning? Is it I heard that some people say they have gummies. Is it gummies that you use? What are some of the applications, and what do you usually recommend to your clients?
So we have three forms. We have topical, we have jellies, and we have tincture oils. We call them jellies because the connotation of a gummy is a drug related, like a THC gummy that has marijuana.
Right.
So our jellies, we're the only ones in the world that have a dual phase nano emulsified slow release jelly. We have not even patented it because we do not want anyone to have rights to our formulation because it's so innovative. And our jellies are bioavailable over 90%. Most of the gummies that people are consuming have a bioavailability of 3 to 10%.
Wow.
So
That's like night and day.
They may spend less money, but they're not really getting much from it. So we have over 90% bioavailability, and it gets into the bloodstream within 15 minutes, which is unheard of because of our nano-emulsified technology. And then the dual phase, the second part, is that it will stay in the body for up to 24 hours, which is excellent. So most people will start off their day taking a jelly or a dropper of tincture oil and have another one maybe at the end of their day. And but I always tell people to allow their bodies to get into balance. If they need to take it 2, 3, maybe even 4 times in the beginning, maybe the first month,
Right.
to really give their bodies what they need to get into balance. And then you can always titrate back. And if you look at it as a superfood, it's just like anything else, right? It's like, well, I need to eat more vegetables today. I had 4 servings, and maybe you've been doing really well with your vegetables. So maybe a couple days you only have 2 servings, you know? So I say that it just to keep people in balance and to have that continuity, a minimum would be 1 serving a day of CBD, which is about 25 milligrams.
Okay.
We have it so that a jelly or a dropper of oil, if it's a 750 milligram bottle, what you do is you divide the serving amount by the amount that's the bottle or the jar of jellies by 30 servings. So that's how we get 25. So 750 milligrams divided by 30 is 25.
Gotcha.
So you're getting a 25 milligram serving. And the typical person needs that as a minimum starting place. People that have chronic issues like epilepsy, migraines, or autoimmune severe cases, neurological things like Parkinson's and other things like dementia, Alzheimer's, they might need to take 100 milligrams or more.
A higher dose.
Right. So that's kind of where we start. And then there's also that one factor of the person that has panic attacks, or that person that is going into a stressful situation. Maybe they're getting on a plane and all of a sudden they're just really nervous. That's where CBD is a great tool to have in your tool belt for that immediate thing that you need a little bit of help with. Have a little dropper full before getting on the plane. Take a little before having that very stressful meeting, or around the holidays when everyone's with their family and there's sometimes a lot more stress, maybe you need to take another serving
Right.
during that week than you would normally.
So if somebody that have scared of planes and they know they're going on a trip, so right before they're getting into the TSA line, just pop a few drops, and before you get to a plane, you'll be relaxed. Now, let me ask you this: we all heard about the story that happened to one of the female NBA player in Russia, where she was traveling with some CBD and cannabis tinctures.
Yes.
And she was arrested in Russia because they claimed it was drugs. With your formulas, will they be able to get through TSA with them, or is there like a regulation that regulates that? How does that work?
Well, every country is different. So Canada is very strict. They sell it. It's legal in Canada, but they won't allow anyone to bring it there. They want you to purchase what is grown and produced in Canada.
Just if you go into Canada, don't take it with you.
Yes. And Europe is not, does not have, like, we just went to England and it was totally fine. Like I said, each country is different. If you're going to Russia, you want to make sure you're checking to see if that's something, because cannabis has this umbrella of the drug and there's a supplement. A lot of countries, they just don't even want to deal with it because of the misinformation and the labeling. It could be anything. So they rather avoid it completely and not allow it.
So what about the U.S.? Let's just see.
U.S. is legal in every state. You can take it anywhere, any place. It's totally fine.
That's good. That's good to know. So thank you so much for this information.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure a lot of folks that heard about CBD didn't know how it works. And you've done a fantastic job educating us, some of the benefits. Now, as a business owner, because this show is about business owners, and you obviously a business owner. As a business owner, what would you say some of the biggest challenges that you have faced? You say you've been in business for a little bit over a year and a half now, correct?
I've been in the industry for 9 years, but
9 years, okay.
With Green Compass for almost 2.5 years.
Okay. So what would you say some of the biggest challenges you have faced in the industry, and how did you work your way to overcome those challenges?
I think probably the hardest challenge is that you can't want it more than that person does, right? You have a solution that you want to provide, and